This week on Wonky Times, a look at the strange history of Friday the 13th. From plane crashes and cruise ship disasters to Tupac conspiracy theories and economic superstition. Plus, a Native American holy man shares insights about premonitions and the mysteries of intuition. It's party time!
Meanwhile, let me pass on the good word about the new
Wonky Times.
Is that even funny, Brian?
Not really.
Okay, well, I did that because today is Friday the 13th. You don't have to be listening to this episode on Friday the 13th, but it's pretty cool if you are. And, it's one of those days where people like to point fingers at the date for things that are going wrong, like they spill their coffee or there's some kind of global catastrophe.
Statistically speaking, it's just a date.
Yeah, and it's also, a great day to get a cheap tattoo. Many shops offer the $13 flash tattoos. One year I got a little mushroom cloud / explosion tattoo, and I don't know, it looks okay.
It looks more like a piece of broccoli.
I mean, well, yeah, I guess, kind of. I don't know. Okay, and from what we've gathered and others have gathered, that people get kind of superstitious on Friday the 13th, and bad things tend to happen on days like this. Is it, law of attraction? I don't know. But, take this story, for instance. A CEO of a major company died in a plane crash, and it was on Friday the 13th.
That is unfortunate timing.
Exactly. And, statistically, flying is pretty safe.
Air travel is one of the safest modes of transportation.
But if you're already nervous about flying and the calendar says Friday the 13th, maybe you reschedule? I don't know.
Humans love connecting coincidences.
Yeah, of course. And, maybe just drive. Stay on the ground. Don't go up in the sky.
Although, driving is actually far more dangerous than flying.
Okay. Well, that's not very comforting, Brian.
I was not programmed for comfort.
All right, moving on. And speaking of eerie timing, one of the greatest hip-hop artists in history died on Friday the 13th.
Tupac Shakur.
No way.
Yep, Tupac. He was shot in Las Vegas back in 1996. Wow, 30 years ago now. And he died 6 years later on Friday the 13th.
Meanwhile, the internet has generated many theories about his death.
Yeah, lots of folks believe he's still alive. Some think he's hanging out with Elvis. I don't know. Hey, RoboBecca, you found something fun on the interwebs the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, there's a guy on TikTok claiming Tupac is alive and living in Cuba. He's apparently an avid farmer and fishing expert now. Listen to this.
It's been confirmed Tupac is alive and he's been living in Cuba all this time. This is a photo I snapped of him with my Nokia phone. That's the only phone the Cuban governors would let me bring into the country. He's been living in Cuba. This is a small farm that he lives on that he does more for just a hobby.
Thank you, Becca.
Confirmation achieved.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
The internet currently contains approximately 14 million theories.
Yeah, and at least half of them start with, my cousin knows a guy. And apparently, Friday the 13th also hates vacations.
You are referring to the Costa Concordia disaster.
Yep, and on January 13th, 2012, a giant cruise ship hits rocks off the coast of Italy and partially capsizes, and it's not a good situation. More than 4,000 people were on board, too. Imagine, going to bed on a luxury cruise and then waking up and the ship is, leaning sideways. And, and the captain reportedly left the ship before everyone else did, which is kind of messed up.
That's the opposite of what happened in the film Titanic.
Yeah, what a Titanic dork this guy is, right?
Yeah, what a dork.
What a dork.
I'm glad we're all on the same page here. Oh, and here's one that eventually became a movie.
You are referring to the Andes plane crash of 1972.
Yeah, look at you, Mr. Movie Buff. A plane carrying a rugby team crashed in the Andes Mountains on Friday the 13th. Crazy.
The survivors were stranded for 72 days.
Yeah, that's 2.5 months in freezing temperatures and almost no supplies, including food.
Yes, they even ended up resorting to cannibalism.
Yeah, it's true. They ate some of their dead teammates.
No way.
Humans are very dramatic.
I mean, that's kind of our thing, I guess. All right, and then also, Friday the 13th actually costs the economy money. You know, did you know that?
Economists have estimated that hundreds of millions of dollars in business activity disappear on Friday the 13th.
You know, yeah, it's because people cancel trips, they avoid flying, they postpone big purchases.
They eat each other instead of eating at McDonald's.
And it's all thanks to Jason Voorhees. Or maybe thanks Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom. It's all her fault. You know, I actually really like those movies.
Jason was kind of a monster in those movies.
Yeah, he had a monster appetite for slashing. Speaking of bad luck or superstitions, I want to talk about premonitions. You know what I mean, Brian?
Yes, knowing something is going to happen before it actually happens.
Yeah, boy, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I spoke to D. Paul, and not only does he have a really cool name, but he has some nifty titles that follow his name, too.
He is a U.S. Navy veteran, a psychic medium, paranormal investigator, and a Native American holy man.
Yeah, D. Paul and I were chatting about premonitions one time, and also about malachites. It's a type of stone that has like healing power. It's pretty cool. Here's our chat.
So who's the person you want to heal? Yeah, so there's somebody coming that you're going to bump into that needs healing, and that malachite's going to come into play, okay. And or a phone call to me. I'm not sure which, but
okay.
Let me just give you a quick example. I was I don't know, maybe eight years ago or so. This particular guy that's involved in this industry that my wife was involved in had asked me to do a few things, and while I'm standing there talking to him, I can hear his wife. I can hear his guides from his wife saying, "We need you to come talk to her." Okay, long story short, I went and met with his wife, and in my hand I had a good chunk of malachite. And when I stepped up to her, you know, she has cancer and she's been battling that, doing that battle. And when I got next to her, I could feel the darkness get pushed out of her. Okay, so now I'm staring at this shadow, this black shadow that's right behind her. And there's a second one, maybe 15 feet behind her in her living room. And as soon as I got close enough to her, that it pushed, that darkness got pushed out of her. She's, oh boy, that's joy. You know, it's like I'm looking at you and I have this tremendous sigh of relief. I almost want to cry.
Like an instant.
Okay? So now I know what's going on, and Archangel Michael was out, you know, hanging out outside and so on. So I took care of that darkness, and when I put the malachite rock in her hand, everything changed. Okay, so I was able to get rid of the dark crap that was haunting her. But when I put the malachite in her hand, it was like she went home. And as she closed her fist, she said she could feel herself reconnecting. And that's where the conversation ended. Wow. I've bumped into her once or twice, you know, 2 or 3 times maybe. And every time, eyes get big, she comes up and she says, "That malachite rock sits on my dresser. And every morning when I get up and every night before I go to bed, I remember that and I reconnect." Okay? So I didn't ask her about going to church and ask her about faith or religion. Okay. I just said, keep the faith, keep moving forward.
How cool.
Well, the opposite side of the spectrum happens, Matthew, because I've run into people that, you know, a former sister-in-law, when I was young, I was still in the Navy then. I had said something to her. So we were supposed to go out and, you know, she changed the plans. And when she called me up and told me, I said, you know, remember when there was rotary dial phones way back when? She called me up and said, "Listen, I can't make this trip. I'm gonna." And she's saying this, I started yelling at her. And I've never yelled at her before or after. Telling her, I says, "You do this thing, it's going to be the biggest mistake you make. You're going to be in a car wreck, and this shit's going to happen. And your life's going to blah blah blah." 2 hours later, right? Get a phone call. Okay, she was in a car wreck. Totaled her. She was driving this MG, little 1960s sports car.
Yeah.
Okay, right over this hill on the highway. Totaled it, but she walked away. But back to my point, I see her every now and again. And one time I was just being a jerk, and I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, you better cross the street." Man, this girl dropped her purse and started almost on a dead run. And that was a lesson to me of the grave responsibility that comes along with being a hollow bone. Okay. You take a lot of incoming, but you do not offer outgoing, right? It was funny to an outside person, but it wasn't funny to me as a holy man, okay? Right. And that was well before I earned the title. But again, so it's a double-edged sword, right? I see people and I see other people who look at me as if, what's he going to say next? And I'm like, oh my God, no, please.
They're like worried when they see you.
You know, I mean, what happens when when you bump into somebody that knows things, right? So, again, that's why I do my best to stay out of public.
And that's the end of this week's show.
Thanks for getting wonky with us.
So yeah, like always, let us know if you see anything weird out there. If you do, email us at getwonky@wonkytimes.com.
Or send us a message on Instagram at wonkytimes.
Or call us at 615-669-8240 and leave us a voicemail. We're not going to answer it, but there's a very good chance that we'll play your message on the show, so pretty cool.
Give us a ring-a-ling.
Adios! I like to do it on the couch.
I like to do it with my husband.
Heck, sometimes I do it when no one's looking. Anywhere works for me. Introducing the Wonky Times Hotline. It's so much fun. You can do it anywhere.
No way.
Yes, anywhere. Your couch, your car, your backyard. Call us, leave a voicemail, and maybe you'll hear your message on the next podcast episode. Dial 615-669-8240. Strange stories, spooky tales, and all things wonky just waiting for your voice. Again, that's 615-669-8240. Don't wait, get wonky today.